Time for us to both buy a Robotnik red spandex suits and see what we can do here, boyo. Hello, everyone. Welcome to No Drama, Just Movies, and we are back this week for another movie review. Hit that subscribe button to stay tuned with all the content that we release each and every week in the world of TV and movies. Also, wishing you guys a happy, belated Merry Christmas for those of you who love a bit of eggnog and love a kiss under the mistletoe. My name is Cameron Shadow, Chaos Emerald Kelly Smith, and I'm joined by my esteemed colleague here.
Those were two for the price of one.
Two.
Sneaking the Chaos Emerald in there. I'm Phil hogging all the hedges, Corwin.
Oh, that's right. And if you haven't guessed by now, we are here to review none other than Sonic the Hedgehog number 3. So let's just jump straight into it because I'm dying to get this one thing right off the tip. It's on the tip of my tongue. I want to get it off immediately, right away. So I think this movie is great. I think this movie is fun. I think that the most enjoyable part for me is Sonic and Co, the team, the CG characters, for me. But in my opinion, the thing that is just right there for me. This movie, I think this franchise, needs to go the route of Transformers 1. I think that this franchise, this property, should we say, similar to the Godzillas, similar to there was just another one, Transformers. Obviously, I just mentioned that. They can benefit from human involvement, but I think within the context of the universe. However, I think that the characters are so fun and rich themselves and have such a rich history that besides Eggman, I think that there is an over reliance on human involvement in these movies.
Mm-hmm.
And after this one, I realized my favorite parts of this movie was all the parts involving Sonic, Tails, Knuckles, and Shadow. And I personally am ready, especially after the post-credit scene, we will get to that in a second, or later on down the line, that I think it's time. I think that they could really benefit from going the Transformers 1 route and having a movie where there isn't as much human involvement. Obviously, now I was speaking to a friend of ours after the movie, and he had expressed to me that he felt like that human element, for example, between Sonic and Tom actually provided something quite substantial to the movie, and that it kind of helped. And I do agree. I just feel like that can still be there without them having to be there in a future installment. So that was the thing that was just on the tip of my tongue that I really wanted to get out. What did you think of Sonic 3?
I liked parts of it, but I think I'm not the aimed at, it's not aimed at me, right? It's aimed at kids, I think, and I'm pretty sure they get a lot of fun and jokes out of this. Jokes that just didn't land for me, didn't work for me as much. There maybe were two, three things that I giggled at. Very manly, of course, but there's rounding giggle. But otherwise, some of and you said the trio, the animated trio, you loved those, which I don't really share. I think those were especially Sonic. Sonic's little quips and jokes were the ones that fell mostly flat for me. And I appreciate what Ben Schwartz is doing, and he's got that speed of voice, and he's also got that kind of cockiness about him. But yeah, some of these jokes just didn't work for me. So yeah, maybe not as much of a fan. Also, I never really played the games, so I never was very emotionally attached to these characters. But if you did play the games, or if you are playing the games right now, then I think you get a lot more out of this.
I mean, let's jump on that because I played some of the games when I was younger. When I was a child, I watched some of the different series. I don't remember them extremely well because I wasn't like the biggest Sonic fan in the world, but I enjoyed it. Um, and so I can't remember specifically if this is truly representative of how Sonic was in the games. And well, I know in the original games, they didn't even really talk that much. I mean,
Yeah.
the original games.
Right.
Yeah, but one thing I want to touch upon that you mentioned that I think is key is the demographic for this movie.
Hmm.
Obviously, for those who played the Sonic games, who enjoyed Sonic when it was, at least video game wise, when it was really coming up, and in, a big craze well before the movies came out, those fans are adults now, right? And, of course, these movies and the current games and different iterations of Sonic, I don't know if there's other TV shows available right now, animated ones, that is, there probably is. Obviously, those are going to, pull on the heartstrings and bring in the young kids of today. But I think that's the thing that I think that this movie at times struggles with, where you're right. It is more so presented as if it is for a younger demographic, for kids, right? However, it's then also unfortunate because there's a lot of adults coming to see these movies who are fans of the character and the property. And I think that they strike a decent balance. It definitely goes more on the side of campy and jokey and more towards kids. But I did appreciate the small moments where we wasn't in that territory. For example, looking at Shadow's origin, how, the scene in Tokyo, I believe it is, where Shadow, fights Sonic, Tails, and Knuckles and beats the crap out of them, or the final boss battle, should we say, between Super Sonic and Super Shadow, where it kind of felt a little bit less campy. But I want to go into that immediately with Jim Carrey, man. Before I speak, that's what I need to say to you. Jim Carrey, please, just go. Just go.
Invoking the name and then let me. I loved him. I didn't care too much at the beginning. Again, the jokes, and it was very much a lot of Sonic. But once Jim Carrey came on, I'm like, okay, here we go. Because he just knows what he's doing when it comes to like humor and just being fun. Again, there were a couple of things that didn't quite but that's quite work, but that's not his fault. Like I guess I think everybody knows, right? That he plays two characters. He plays Robotnik and his grandfather, Robotnik's grandfather.
Robotnik.
And there's a very meta joke where they're like, it's almost like the same actor plays two different characters or something. And I like rolled my eyes at that. And there's little things, but like, for example, Jim Carrey, when he towards the end where he puts on the suit and he's like mantis thing, he does the mantis fight with his granddad. And just the way he does it, like I can't do it now. I can do it later. But it's just the way he looks when he's doing it, and it's just physical comedy, which is absolutely amazing. And then that was one of the parts where I like laughed a bit, the appropriate amount. And so Jim Carrey is just Jim Carrey, right? He knows what he's doing. But what did you think about his? Because the way you introduced that is like
it's interesting because the parts that I loved about the movie, you didn't like as much, and the parts that you loved about the movie, I didn't like as much. And listen, like, I love Jim Carrey, man. I got a lot of respect for him. He's one of the goats. He seems like such an awesome guy. Yeah, his Robotnik isn't for me, and it hasn't been for me since Sonic 1. It's too campy for me. There was times, don't get me wrong, this to me might have been my favorite portrayal of him as Robotnik out of these three movies because I did laugh more. But the reason why I laughed is not because I found what he was doing as funny. It's because I found what he was doing to me was awful, and that's what made it funny.
Oh,
and maybe that's the intention because it's meant to be campy, it's meant to be ridiculous. It's not exactly meant to be comedic gold, and it is very much so catered towards kids. If you're a kid watching this, you may love it. As an adult, I found it very difficult. But I will say though that he is good, and if this is in his bag, he is good, and he does capture attention, whether you like it or not. And I do appreciate that. We've gone all this time without properly speaking about Shadow. Obviously,
Do
the
it.
trailers for this movie, excuse me, number three, to me was great. And it really sold me on the idea of Shadow. When Shadow was teased at the end of the last movie, the excitement was okay. Shadow, people love Shadow, and I think he's great. I think he is really great. Like I love Keanu Reeves voicing him. I thought that it was actually really perfect casting. I
Mm.
think he does a really good job. I love how Shadow looks. I love how he carries himself. I do feel like they slightly rushed in some ways, or not to say rushed, but slightly curbed after a little bit too quickly curbed his backstory and his reasoning for wanting to do what he does. Because his bits with Maria were quite heartbreaking and were quite emotional. However, yeah, I think they did curb that a bit too quickly. It was the quick, he's has his plan, then he decides to fight Sonic. Sonic beats him quickly, like within a minute. Turns on Robotnik, and obviously, but I just think they could have did that a little bit better. But I did enjoy Shadow. And before ask for your thoughts on Shadow, a huge shout out for me personally for Idris Elba as Knuckles. I think that Idris Elba, I love Knuckles. I think that Idris Elba is, to me, is the best voice performer in these movies. I think that he is just tremendous. I just love his Knuckles. Big fan of his Knuckles. What did you think of Shadow?
I did like Shadow as a character, but I did want more about him. You did mention like his friendship with Maria, the girl that was it Robotnik's or Grandpa Robotnik's
Yeah,
daughter, granddaughter or
Robotnik's
something?
granddaughter, which was
Um,
interesting.
so her, but I did want a bit more. I felt like Shadow just a little bit too quickly for me just became her friend. And like after being like, locked up in this vat thing, um, I can see why, but I think it rushed a little bit.
Mm.
But I do like you. I think I like their relationship and how it like grew and them like, doing fun things together and like watching films and speaking of that, I also like this kind of when they are watching the film and it's like the monster of is it Tokyo or something?
Yeah,
The alien, the something.
yeah, on the TV.
Yeah, and he suddenly realizes, oh, that's me. I'm the
Mm.
monster here. That was a nice little moment, and I think they gave him a couple of moments like that as well, which I enjoyed. But yeah, I definitely wanted a little bit more from him because it felt like Keanu Reeves didn't get too much to do.
Mm.
I think I also liked his voice work, but yeah, it's just needed a bit more for me. From him.
Yeah, yeah, I do agree, actually. I mean, one of the things and this kind of stems off of Shadow, one of the things that I noticed or have noticed with these movies, and this links to the post-credit scene, um, is obviously in Shadow number one, in Sonic one, we get the tease of Knuckles. If I remember correctly, in Sonic 2, we have the appearance of Knuckles. In At the end of Sonic 2, we have the tease of Shadow. Sorry, I think at the beginning of Sonic 1, actually, I think we get the tease of Tails, actually, if I'm
Yes,
not
at some
mistaken.
point Tails shows up.
Yeah, and then
That-
Knuckles obviously in two, and then Shadow is then teased for three. We get uh Shadow in three, and then of course, obviously, we'll get to the post-credit scene in a minute. Or we'll get to it now. Actually, obviously spoilers, but
Right.
you probably are checking out this review because you've seen the movie. But spoilers if you haven't for the post-credit scene. Obviously, the post-credit scene, we finally get the reveal of Amy, who a lot of people have been waiting for a while. And we also had the reveal of Metal Sonic, or at least a legion of Metal Sonics. From what I gather, there is a comic book storyline where there's multiple of them, where I think initially in the game it was just one Metal Sonic. But anyway, the reason why I bring this up is because I feel like I don't know if this is a reflection of the writing or if this is just
Hmm.
a reflection of how they're just doing things in general. But it feels like we are going very quickly in terms of going over Sonic, quickly introducing different elements of Sonic lore
Mm.
without fully exploring the lore, if that makes
Yeah.
sense. Shadow, obviously, obviously a lot of people were excited for Shadow, and we got him. However, we kind of quickly explored him. Now Amy's here and Metal Sonic, and I just kind of feel like that's one of my fears. If obviously Paramount have officially confirmed that Sonic 4 hits in 2027, but one of my fears is if it's just every single movie we end with a tease of the next character from Sonic lore that's going to appear in the next one, and then we kind of delve into their story incredibly quickly and just move on.
Mm.
I hope that's not the case because obviously one of the mid-credit scene in this movie, spoiler once again, is that obviously Shadow is still alive. So you'd imagine he will play a part in Sonic 4, whether that be as his anti-hero role or something else. I don't know. But yeah, I just hope that they just take some time to fully explore the lore and fully explore these stories and characters and without everyone just quickly kind of introducing a new one and running past it. No pun intended. And that obviously I think does, for me at least, links to my point of ideally I would really like them to go the Transformers one route eventually, just even if it's just one movie. Like we saw obviously the beginning of Sonic 1, how that takes place in Sonic's home world. I would love a movie where it takes place off Earth, for one, wherever,
Okay.
for one movie at least.
It's not
um
just it's you don't just want a prequel, you just want those characters in another, like without the humans.
Yeah, like for example, in that post-credit scene, we see Amy and these metal Sonics, right? Like, obviously, I don't know the context of how Amy and these metal Sonics got to Earth, but for example, if they happen to only just arrive, I doubt it, but if they did happen to only just arrive, it would be kind of cool to maybe go to some other planet where that's where the metal Sonics came from, and
Hmm.
Amy followed them here, or they followed Amy here, but we maybe got to go back there and spend the whole movie or a significant amount of the movie there would be nice, and just be able to focus on these characters instead of including more human elements personally, and that includes Eggman for me, at least for a little bit.
Done with
But
the Eggman.
but I would like that, personally speaking. Whether they do it or not, I highly doubt it.
To be fair, like the humans in this one, I get the idea of the humans in the first one because they're kind of giving Sonic a new home, and it's kind of the thing that grounds him to Earth, to this new place that he just, falls into. Um, can't remember much of the second one, so I don't know what the humans are doing in that one. But here it felt like a little bit, I guess like you were saying as well, like character, 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 film after film, and here's a new person, and here's a new like Sonic variant, I suppose. Um, and there wasn't a lot of space for the human characters, specifically Tom and Maddie. I think are their names. Just go over
Think
that.
so.
Um, yeah, who are Sonic's kind of adoptive parents, but they kind of try to like use them for bits, but I'm like, you could have easily left them out without losing much. It almost feels like they're trying to force them in there when Sonic
Yeah.
asks for their help, and it's like to break in this thing, into this thing to steal something. And it's like, why do you need these? So I can maybe see something happening without the human characters, and maybe something just with a Sonic with a trio, and maybe Shadow on top of that. While I was talking about the heist, I realized as well that's one of the things I really didn't like. Because and where I think like, oh, this is going a little bit too far with the fun stuff. Because you've got like Robotnik and his granddad like putting on these suits. Like we have the laser beams and no one can get through those because they
What
cut
a dance.
and they do a dance and it goes on for well too long. It goes on for much too long, more than it should. But I was also thinking like the suits kind of reflected the laser lights, so they would have
Yeah.
still like cut them. Also, your heads are not protected, so you got to be careful with that. But yeah, it felt like just like, oh, let's put a dance in. Everything is putting a dance sequence in the films now. I don't know if that's the TikTok generation or something, like what that is, but please stop. I don't need a fucking complete dance in every single thing that can then be cut and put onto YouTube so for everyone to learn it and stuff. I know. But yeah, it was just a bit too silly for me, I think. I don't know if kids get anything out of that, but yeah, not for me.
Well, we're gonna have to hop on TikTok and find out. Time for us to both buy a Robotnik red spandex suits and see what we can do here, boyo. Well, that will do us for our review of Sonic the Hedgehog number 3. We have obviously our IC review system scoring on this channel. How many ICs will we be giving Sonic 3 out of 10?
I wasn't too much of a fan, I think, so I'm gonna give it a 6.5 out of 10 ICs. And that point 0.5 is mainly for it, a special half point for Jim Carrey. Because I think, yeah, he did a lot for the film for me, at least. So yeah, but again, it was not for me, I think. Not made for me, I mean. If I had been like 20 years younger or something, I might have enjoyed it a little bit more. But yeah, as it stands, 6.5 out of 10 ices from me.
Well, you're going for 6.5 ICs out of 10. I am going to go for 7.9 ICs out of 10. It
We
doesn't
don't
reach
have
8
that.
for me. It doesn't reach 8 for me, but I'm tempted, but I can't go to an 8. So I'm going to go for 7.9
You better,
ICs
because I need
out
to
of
now make another icy thing.
10.
That
Well,
says 7.9.
I think so. I think so. Well, and for the reasons because I just enjoy the CG part, and that had me enough.
Okay.
So that will
Fair
do
play.
it here for our review of Sonic the Hedgehog number 3. Once again, we are No Drama, Just Movies. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel, like, comment, jump down in the comment section below. Let us know your thoughts on Sonic 3 and what your thoughts are for the franchise moving forward. My name is Cameron Shadow, Chaos Emerald, Kelly Smith, and I'm joined by my esteemed colleague here.
Getting into the base register. Um, I'm Phil, hogging all the hedges, Corwin.
Oh, that's right. Once again, we are No Drama, Just Movies. Hop on that racetrack and run as fast as Sonic, or if not, just pretend. Once again, we are No Drama, Just Movies. And thank you very much for checking out our review today, guys. And we will see you very, very soon. Take care, guys.
Bye.